Hey, you guys, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay because I won't say almost, I've always done these types of live chats from my laptop. And today I'm not, I'm using my cell phone. So hopefully, the sound is really good with this. And as in the past, I'm definitely going to be using this live chat to help with my editing process. There will be none. It's basically whatever is happening live and direct, baby. That's what it's going to be. I did not announce this live chat in the support group, so I'm always, reinforcing with you guys that you're hitting the bell. I don't know who's getting notifications, honestly, when I go live, when I upload videos. I don't know because I have a reasonable amount of subscribers, but you guys may need to revisit your settings, re-hit the bell. It's been a few years now, and make sure that you guys are still going to be getting notifications. But, I'm a vessel just like all of us are. And when God puts it on my heart to speak on something, I just got to do it. I'm pretty obedient to that, you guys. This morning, I did make an upload, so make sure you check that out because this video is a great follow up to that. And, it was me just giving some advice on a healing process to make sure that, we're taking a balanced approach here. We're not overly focused on the other person and the external forces rather than, making sure, first and foremost, and number one, we are the primary focus. We're pouring into ourselves, basically. But you can watch that video, it'll get a little more specific. All right. But in this video, I do want to talk about another aspect along those lines, of refocusing on ourselves as we were. Chances are to focus on a relationship itself and then that other person that we were trying to, in essence, most of us anyway, force a relationship with. Okay. But by the end of the relationship, and usually by the time people are coming to get coaching from me and this and that, they are feeling really hopeless and down and out. Of course, there are a lot of common sense reasons for this. These types of relationships, yeah, they're physical things that are happening, but it's a lot psychological and emotional and absolutely spiritually, right? So, because of that, the spiritual aspect of things is definitely weighing down on us. All right. And because there were so many fails through all the attempts and all the cycles of abuse, and sometimes it's not even your first relationship of that nature. So, and then for other situations where it's just been a perpetual pattern and it feels like your whole life, because as a video I think I've made over 2.5 years ago, the first narcissist is usually not the one in that romantic relationship. Usually it goes back to a primary caretaker or someone that was entrusted with you as a child during those primary years, like even like up to age 5, definitely. Okay. Somewhere in there. Okay. Somebody dropped the ball with you. So, with all of that being said, it's usually just not that one bad relationship. There may be a lot of traumas, a lot of abuses with, family members. And by the time you get to that romantic relationship and trying to make that work and that one failing as well, you may end up feeling very hopeless when it comes to ever even having a healthy relationship, being reciprocated, getting the things that you deserve, just being loved externally. And then, that does begin to trickle, or actually it's backwards. It starts from us feeling that first, not feeling the love for ourselves that we even would try to make it work with those type of external sources. So I want to make this video to, definitely point out how we need to restore to faith, but I don't want to just tell you to do that. I want to give you some steps, of course, to, begin to do that if you feel like this is something that you need to work on in your life. Um, because it's all connected, you guys. If we're not having faith, we're not having hope. And, we need to have these types of things, or else we'll put ourselves in a position of possibly stay longer in those situations, to settle. Because if we don't have hope that we can get better, we'll always accept less. Excuse me, you guys. I cooked this morning and I ate, so trying to come up off of that. But yeah, without the hope, we'll begin to settle, and it's all a domino effect. So we definitely have to restore faith here. So let's talk about how we can do that. The number one thing that I have here, and this is on a more shallow end, and as I go down the list, it'll become less shallow and a lot deeper as far as how we can be restoring these faith. And these are the easier things to do versus things that may take a little bit more soul searching as we go down the list, but nonetheless is work that's you're worthy of doing, of course, to restore yourself. Because I'm sure that you don't really want to stay in a state of, feeling hopeless about just the human species, okay, and love and what you can have and what you can't have, and all these types of things. All right. So on the most shallow end of things, we can just go ahead and work on our perceptions first and foremost. All right. And this is acknowledging that, those toxic people aren't our maker, right? These are just broken people in their toxicity, right? So we can't empower them by making them these boogeymen, or making them responsible for our present and our future. Okay, yeah, we had a past with them, we had an experience with them, but we have free will as well, and we can choose to cut ties, we can choose to get healthy, we can choose to make different decisions, we can choose to have different types of people in our life moving forward. We have a lot of free will, honestly. We don't have 100% free will in our lives. That's a whole nother video that we'll talk about, but we do. God has given us some. So, yeah, on the most shallowest end of restoring our faith, we can start by working on our perceptions, and firstly, making sure that we're not empowering them that like they're our maker, okay? Like they're the end all be all. The next thing, you guys, is understanding, what faith is. What is faith? Faith is basically believing for things that may not be seen yet, but believing in possibilities. And if we're believing in something that's not seen yet, that means that we don't have to have a history with it quite just yet in order to believe that it can be possible to happen for us, or that it's going. That's a better way. I like that language a little bit better. That it's going to happen, that you are called to receive this, that is just waiting for you. These are the positive types of thoughts that, people who end up manifesting are having this in their life. This is the type of energy, that they're in. So, working on these type of perceptions and the way that your mind is working, and not working off of the abuse, but working away from the abuse, separating the abuse from you as a person, separating those experiences from you as a person, separating those toxic people from you as a person, okay? And just taking the lessons and leaving all the other stuff. And that takes a little bit of time, but it's completely possible, you guys. And I see Yvette has joined the live chat. She's definitely one of my day ones. So I just want to take a moment to say hello to her, because I see her comments here. Aw, she's happy to catch the live chat. Aw, well, it's great to have you here, Yvette. So yeah, we're going to make sure that we're in the right perceptions of not, putting these people on a throne. Like they're completely unworthy of it, and we have to know that by now, okay? And they're not the end all be all. It's not the last person that you can choose to love in this life, or, take a chance with to see. So understanding what faith is, and definitely having the right perceptions that these people aren't our maker, they're not gods, they're mortals just like we are down here. They're not even trying to get it right, so they're even below you, you know. And some people would say, there are people who say, you're not better than anyone. Yes, you are, honey. Yes, you are. Don't let people tell you that everybody is the same. If that's the case, I mean, are you the same as people that go around molesting children and do horrific things as such? No, everybody is different and on different levels of, you know, how far they're evolved, their emotional maturity, and all types of stuff. Just like there's a spectrum, even for narcissists. Everyone is not the same. So part as well as changing your perceptions and isolating yourself from those toxic, abusive people is understanding you're not like them. You're not like them. They preyed on you, they did what they did, but you're not like them. And you are better than that because you wouldn't go do that to someone else. That automatically makes you better. Something, you know, they're in the core of their characters and stuff like that, there's something wrong with them, obviously. So you're better than that and you don't even need to. And if it's something that happened to you in your childhood, at least you're an adult now and you have your free will now. You may have some psychological things to work through so that you can continue to empower yourself. But thank God, you know, you're in a position to be able to make those choices. My heart goes out to children who are, you know, a little less in control of that, you know, especially when it's something covert and they're being abused. But, you know, people do grow up and God does see everything. But moving right along. So the number one thing, definitely shattering those shallow perceptions, you guys, not making them your maker, making sure you understand what faith really is and how that works. Okay. Number two, you're going to reconnect with the higher source. And I have to say reconnect because chances are in those types of relationships, there was a backsliding or a disconnect. And it may not have even been a complete one, which means there always some type of nudge there in your discernment trying to tell you like, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, or there was something uneasy that you were able to feel, an uneasy energy around that relationship, trying to give you the nudge to let you know, you probably should go this way, go that way. And maybe that voice wasn't loud enough as it was at the end. And usually this is caused by, they'll say that God is whispering and then, he has to scream, but he will always discipline his children. He'll discipline you. And beyond disciplining you, because I don't want to call this a discipline, but he needs to get your attention. And sometimes if it can't be gotten in other ways, maybe you aren't healthy enough to where when they were disrespecting you on a lighter scale, you wouldn't break it off. But, he had to let that person burn a bridge with you to the point where even out of your toxicity, you wouldn't be able to go back to that situation. But either way, you have to reconnect with that higher source. And when you're doing this, just be humble about it and thankful, and just ask for that grace and that mercy as the source is already giving it to you. But just continue to be embraced by that and allow yourself to feel that warm embrace. A lot of times you want it from the same source that sent you running and crying to the higher source. Because when you're doing number one and not working on those shallow perceptions and putting that person on the throne, you're making them a god at that point. I remember in a toxic relationship I was in, I had to literally tell that person because God was screaming at me. He was screaming at me to get away from that situation. And I had to tell him, hey, I can't choose you over God. I'm too woke for that, meaning I would be afraid of doing that at that point. But God had already told me. I prayed on the situation. He said a clear ass no to me. He said, no, that's not my will for your life. It's just not my will for your life. I didn't necessarily, after you make so many investments into something, you don't want to hear that per se, but it is what it is. And when you know your God well enough, you know that if you go against it, you're going to do more than scrape your knee. you know, because he's telling you right now before that the storm gets even worse, get out of it, get out of it. That's not my will for your life. So when you reconnect with that higher source, your discernment is going to get so sharp. It's almost like he's making you psychic, almost. He's going to allow you to be able to see through situations. And, you know, some people may feel uncomfortable with that. And especially if you're not used to tapping into that type of vision, meaning, you know, when your eyes are that open, and I'm not even just talking about just what we can literally see here in a 3 dimension. We go to like a 4th dimension, 5th dimension, 6th. There's a whole lot of other dimensions, you know, that the typical human brain is too closed out to be able to really tap into. But even just going into that 4th dimension, that could be uncomfortable for someone who is operating out of even a 2 dimension and barely a 3 dimension. Because in that relationship, sometimes we weren't even seeing stuff that was right in front of our eyes, that they were literally just doing in front of our face. It became really obvious once we removed ourselves out of it, right? And we started seeing things for what it was. And then it's like, whoa, like, and it lets you know where you were at that time. It's not where you are now, but it lets you know how far you've come and where you were, because it's stuff that you would never tolerate now. You wouldn't fall for it now. And that's growth. And that's a beautiful thing. But reconnecting with the higher source helps you do that. Then it's not this faint thing in the background that you could hardly hear. It's going to be like very clear. And when you're truly connected to it, you'll feel uncomfortable going against it. You'll feel uncomfortable going against it because there's a responsibility over your life, you know, as we're the beacon of light, to go where we're supposed to go, you know. And it may not have been where your lower self wanted to take you, but you know what happens when we get into bed with our lower self and what type of results we'll get then. So, you know, we have to definitely tap into our higher selves. I'm just looking on here. So once we tap into our the higher source is what I was saying. Tapping into the higher source. We should tap into our higher self. Yeah, it's the higher source first. I thought about it before I made the live chat, which comes first. I said it has to be the higher source first, because that's really what's opening our mind to our higher self, if that makes sense. It's what's feeding us and giving us, you know, the information and allowing us to be able to go to the next level. So it has to be the higher source to the higher self, you know. It has to be in that type of order. And that's why I said that. So, yeah, once we're in our higher self, then we're no longer desiring what we were desiring before. And now we can do the next thing on my list, which is setting up those new goals. You know, there should be a shift then, you know, where I'm not putting relationships on the throne per se, not those shallow relationships like before. If anything, I'm going to put the relationship with the higher source on the throne, because I see when I stay connected to that, my life is just doing amazing, right? When we're staying connected there and we keep our eyes there, everything else just seems to fall into place, doesn't it? Because you're connected. So if there's any relationship that you need to put on a throne, is the one that's actually sitting on the throne, not the ones, well, all the little people down here on earth trying to find their ways, okay, and trying to figure it out. Not them that come and go out of our life, and chances are it's just temporary or just for that chapter, right? Not to say that there aren't people who we have somewhat of a soul contract with, that God has placed in our life for basically our whole life, but that's not everybody. That really isn't everybody. All right. And that still isn't to be put on a throne. It just means that you guys are going to spend your lives. If God is the one at the steering wheel, helping each other evolve through lessons. Okay. Through lessons. So Yeah. You guys should have new goals then, which means you're having like a different kind of energy around yourself. And you'll be vibrating differently. But you have to stay diligent. It's not something that you're going to tap into just to get through the healing process and then fall off of. Because as you can see, or you may not see, for those of you who are currently going through a healing process, if you do that, um, it'll weaken your spirituality, if you will, and that connectedness is just something like any relationship. A good marriage is not a surprise. There are two people sowing seeds. There are two people watering the seeds. There are two people reciprocating. There are two people operating out of respect. There are two people making the time. It's not one person. No. So it's not a surprise to them because they're doing the work, even if, whether it's being broadcast to the world or not. And it's not about being broadcast to the world, but it's things going on basically behind the scene. So that's why people say, hey, don't hate on them when they get their blessing. You don't know what they've been through to get it. They don't see you getting up at 5 a.m., having devotions every morning, praying all these times a day, spending time with your God, building that connection. They don't see all of that meditation, sowing seeds, doing good for others. They don't see you being honorable when nobody's looking, doing the right thing. There are people that just looking for the easy way out, you know people that won't get a job during a pandemic or start a business because they can eat off the government. That's what I'm talking about. People that aren't honorable when people aren't looking. You see? So God sees all of that, whether man sees it or not. And he's the one issuing out the blessings. That's why those people, even when they think they're taking it from you, he just gives it to you tenfold and he'll do it right in front of their face. So you don't have to worry about all the mistreatment from anybody. You're going to get it back tenfold and in front of their face. And in front of their face. Survivors, they get so upset about being mistreated. The best thing you could do, remove yourself from that. Number one, get on out of that situation. Start working to take a good look in the mirror and work on a person that's looking back at you. Connect with the higher source to help you do that and watch your life turn around and never go back. It don't mean you can't look back. We self-reflect. We all have memories, but don't you go back. Don't go back to it. And then once you get to a certain level of healing, you won't even need to look back because it's done. It's over. It's finished. It's complete. The cycle is done, right? You won't even have to do that. The looking back, that's what we're doing typically in the healing process. But once we've secreted all we needed to take out of that situation, then we ain't even really got to look back at it. We still have a memory, but it's not something that we need to be revisiting every day. Every now and then it might pop in your head, but it's for God's glory. Like, man, I remember that season of my life. I've come a long way. I'm not her anymore or him anymore. I don't hang with people like that anymore. See, all these videos that I've been putting out, you guys, as of late, and just all of them really, but these are all connected. When I said, hey, you got to watch who you're getting in bed with. If they can't be honorable when nobody's looking, you see? If they're treating other people like that, like I said in the other videos, it will be your turn eventually. So no, they haven't done it to you yet. All these videos are connected, you guys. They're all connected. But yeah, we have to stay diligent, you guys, in restoring our faith. And then, I'm just going to add this to it as well. We have to be able to recognize what we already got. I don't want you to be the swine. I don't want you to be the swine. See, I always tell survivors, don't cast your pearls before swine. That means that narcissistic person, those toxic people, they don't properly value anything in their life. They don't. They treat it all the same. They don't understand when they have something precious. They're going off of these most animalistic instincts. And I don't even want to say that because animals are wiser than that. Animals can know better than that, whether they're living in like human beings or not. So I can't even say that. Even the animals see when a storm is coming by studying the wind and moving away from it. So I can't even put them, it's below that. It's below an animal, honestly. But we have to know what our pearls are. And that's why in the last video that I just put up, I said, stay in gratitude. And that's one way of restoring faith right there, by seeing what you already have to be blessed for. And some of you are confused with that ending as not being a blessing when it was, or because you have to go through that breakup, or you have to go through that divorce. So part of restoring your faith is understanding what you already have today, right now. And honestly, a secret to manifesting more in your life, in case you don't know, is to already walk in gratitude today, to have that energy of thankful, to see that you already have a lot as it is. See, then you're not in that lack energy to begin with. If you can wake up and be thankful that you can actually get up out of your bed, because you know what? There are people in the hospital on their deathbed right now. And I bet you, if they had to do it all over again, for those of them that weren't, they would have had more appreciation for just getting out of their bed. I can walk, I can do this, I can do that. I'm not anybody's slave. I may have some mental slaves that I can work on and get better with, but I have the freedom to be able to do that. You're not, the YouTube is worldwide, but I bet you none of you on this thread are in a third world country not trying to figure out when you're going to eat again or dying from hydration. I'm sure there are things, countless things that you have right now to be thankful of, in spite of an ugly experience or some abuse that you experience with an unevolved person that abuses themselves as well. I'm sure there are other things. And then you took the beautiful lessons out of that. You can take, and that's how God turns the lemons into lemonade. And people could say, hey, I don't look like what I've been through. Or that was when I was still in my cocoon, but I'm a butterfly now. So another part of restoring faith is staying very, very close to gratitude, being a thankful kind of person. I say thankful for everything. Things that people will look at me like, it would probably be weird to you if you were with me on a daily basis, but I say thank you for. I'm constantly saying thank you. And I feel like that's one of the things that keeps my life abundant, because I'm constantly thankful for things. I'm even thankful for things that may have hurt my ego, may have hurt my pride, may have hurt, the toxic side of me, my shadow side, but it's a necessary thing. I understand how it all works together. I understand how I invited certain things into my life and I have a consequence to it. Because, one thing, cause and effect, that's a real thing. Cause and effect is a real thing. So part of having that faith, again, is definitely staying close to gratitude, you guys. Don't lose sight of it. That tunnel vision of just focusing on what you feel like you don't have or what didn't work out in a relationship, and it takes your attention. And yet here it is again, being a distraction in your life. You can't focus at work. You're not focusing on growing your business. You can't be the mother or the father you need to be to your children, your friends and family. You can't even be present to enjoy a sunny day because, you're still stuck in bondage over this situation. And we need to be breaking those chains and moving on so that we can do what our maker said, live life and live it abundantly. Live it abundantly. So I want to recap, you guys, what I was saying as far as the restoring of the faith. I said, number one, let's work on our perceptions, making sure we're not putting human beings on a throne. It's okay to acknowledge someone for their gifts. But, when we're talking about these toxic people, we know damn well, and I said this in yesterday's video about protecting your kingdom, they don't have no business being on nobody's throne and having people under them that they're going to just take advantage of and be reckless with. Take them off the throne. It's too much responsibility. Look what they did when you gave them that responsibility. They couldn't keep the commitment. They couldn't honor their words and their vows, you know, emotionally stunted. They are in no position to be being put on the throne. They're nobody's maker. Even the most evolved human being should not be put on the throne here. Okay. God is working through them as a vessel to help others, but they're still not to be put on a throne. We need to also work on our perceptions of what faith is and understand how that faith trickles into having hope. And, one of the worst things a person, and I can't say it's someone take from them, you could take it from a child because they're emotionally immature. But if you're an adult that's just as, mentally weak as a child is, that's unevolved yet, because they have to grow up, But having that hope taken away, that keeps us in a state of settling for less than what we deserve. We don't hope for it. I don't care how many marriages you had. I don't care how many failed relationships. I don't care how many people you let run up in you. I don't care how many children you had. None of that. You can choose today and now that you believe your life is going to look abundant, that your life is going to be filled with love and peace and joy and happiness. And as a matter of fact, because you went through all that suffering, you're going to guard your heart. You're going to make sure, you're going to work with the source to make sure that you align with a lifestyle that is going to be suited just for you, because everybody has their own lane and their own path and their own journey. But it's not going to look like what you've been through, and you're not going to be repeating cycles. All right. So the next thing that I talked about after that is making sure that we're connecting with the higher source. Who better to work with? Who better to work with? And once we're connected with that higher source, he's going to give us the ultimate sight to, seeing things. And like I said, it may make you feel uncomfortable to be able to have that much vision. He'll tell you in a dream. He'll just drop it right in your mind. He'll let you listen to me talk and clarify some things for you. He speaks through, he'll use people, but he'll get the message to you in a way that he'll know that you receive it. But be wise enough to know when he's giving that message to you. And the more connected that you get with that source, the more clear it's going to be. But you're going to have to get used to trusting that voice and knowing when that's your voice, from the higher source, or when it's that toxic voice, your shadow side, your lower nature, or even worse, that toxic narcissist, because they've said a lot of things too. Everything that crosses your mind is not of you. You need to understand that about thoughts. Everything that crosses your mind is not of you. There could be a dark spirit around you just telling you all types of negative things, telling you ain't nothing. That's not you. That is an entity coming for you. You need to know that. And that's why I say rebuke things like that in other videos when I talk about just thoughts, period. I say replace it with a positive thought. Rebuke it right then and there. Don't just let it run through your mind all day and night. Deny it and tell it what it really is. I'm highly favored. I'm blessed. This is what you're going to claim. Every time that thought think is going to cross your mind, or that spirit think is whispering in your ear, you better send it right back to where it came from. You better pump your sage out, start your prayer, talk to God, rebuke it and tell it to go right back where it came from. You don't belong here. You don't have a place here. You're wasting your time. Okay? So yeah, we're going to connect to that higher source. And we're going to get comfortable with that because it's powerful. It's very powerful. You'll be able to, a lot is being told just by looking people in the eyes. You'll be able to fill it out, and you're already an empath. And he'll take you to a whole nother level. Like I said, you're going to feel psychic. It's going to almost feel psychic because it's going to translate what they're saying. You're going to pick right on up with what they're meaning because you're not jaded right now. You're not overcome by your own toxicity and toxic desires of just needing to feel loved by some person. All that stuff isn't going to be overpowering you anymore. You're going to be able to be present in the moment and really be receptive to picking up what someone's real intentions are, what they're really trying to say to you right now, and what they're trying to hide. That's the big one right there. What are they trying to hide from you? What don't they want you to realize right now? What are they trying to pull the wool over your eyes about here? So you get and connect to that source. He's going to help tell you that. You might just be meditating. It might come to you, you feel like at an odd time, but it's going to come. It'll be revealed. You have to be an open vessel for that energy, not for all of that other garbage that's trying to keep you distracted and, in bondage. So as we're connecting to the higher source, we're connecting to ourselves. It's a whole domino effect. Then we're going to be in a new energy. We're going to have different kind of goals. Okay. We're going to be more concerned with, okay, what does God, why does he have me on this earth right now? What does he need for me to be doing? Where does he need me to be focused? And while we're doing that, if he says, hey, here's a husband for you, here's a wife for you, but I'm bringing them with you, yeah, they're going to love you and respect you. And then I have goals for you two together. And it's not a bunch of chaos and nonsense. It's not to tear your spirit down. It's not to abuse you forever. Of course not. What good am I going to have of you if you're in a broken state? I'm not bringing you together with anybody like that. So while you're getting stuck in your purpose, that's when the person comes. Ask most people that are married. Oh, I found my husband and wife when I wasn't even looking for a relationship. It wasn't even on my radar. And even when they came, they almost had to convince me maybe sometimes. It was that person was focused and they had their eyes on their purpose. And then that person came into their life. It wasn't out of this codependent energy of when is it going to be my time? Niggas ain't shit, all this other stuff. Well, those niggas, yeah, stop dealing with niggas, number one. Like, get your mind where it's supposed to be focused. Get your mind where it's supposed to be focused. And everything else will fall into place in divine timing. But some of us didn't want to wait for divine timing, but that was a part of our own brokenness and not knowing how to fill our own cups. Not having the right perceptions. That's what I said, number one, those shallow perceptions. But once you're in that new energy and you're having that shift, I said to stay diligent. Don't drop the ball. Realize how you got there and maintain it and increase it even. That's why someone might say, oh, I was a baby in Christ. Now I'm a child in Christ. Like, it starts evolving. Oh, I didn't never used to read the word, but, I started getting more disciplined. Oh, I didn't never used to pray, but, I'm getting better. I was never good at prayer. I felt awkward with it, but now I'm a prayer warrior. Like, it's just evolving with time. And that's, like I said, good marriages aren't a surprise. A good relationship ain't a surprise. We have two people that are respecting each other, that are reciprocating each other. And that doesn't mean you're just taking from God and not putting into him. Just coming to him when you fall on your face. That's not how that works. That's why I say thank you for everything. Thank you for even waking me up. We ain't even got to talk about that bad relationship right now. How would you treat a real person? Would you just only come to them and just offload all of your drama on them? That's, that don't seem fair. God is not just a genie in a bottle that you just come to take from. That's not a healthy relationship with anybody, let alone the higher source. So, before you come and say any of that stuff, you need to humble yourself. Apologize for backsliding. Apologize for putting a human being over him. Apologize for your own ignorance. Come naked and bare. Start from there. That's how you begin to rebuild the relationship. But that takes a person that's willing to be open and honest right then and there. That's like someone who has done much in a relationship and they want to try to save it. You're not going to come back and try to sweep everything under the rug. You need to come back and keep it real. Let's start from there. Well, and it's not for God's sake, it's for yours. It's for yours. Because although we have egos and they can serve a healthy purpose in our life, for most of us, it's to our detriment. And that's something that, will have to be worked on. So we're going to stay diligent, you guys, in sowing those seeds and keeping that relationship healthy. And you'll want to do it. You'll want to do it. How could you not love someone that loves you so much? All right. But you have to understand what love is. And I know I have a few videos on that for those of you who don't. But it's right there described in the Bible. What is it? 1 Corinthians. I'll have to look that up, but Google it. What is love defined in the Bible? It's 1 Corinthians something. And it gives you like at least the 7 characteristics. And it was nothing that was going on in that relationship. So we already see right then and there, it wasn't even love. All right. But that relationship was a catalyst to bring you back to yourself so that you can become wholer and you can elevate and illuminate to the next level, you guys. So many people. Go look up successful people who have gone through this. I'm one. I'm one person who's gone through a lot of abuse and overcoming. But there are many people. Don't look for a reason for why things won't work out in life. Look for a reason to why you will be successful. You will be victorious. That's what a lot of successful people do. They go look up other successful people. Okay? They go look at them, not to necessarily always just copy, because everybody has their own lane and their own journey in which direction they need to go. But it doesn't mean you can't learn something from somebody who's been there and done that and overcame. So a lot of business owners might do it. Well, this person had the most successful restaurant chain. Where did they start? How did they get there? How many times did they fail before they had their big break? It keeps you encouraged to know, you know what? Nobody's perfect. Nobody got it right the first time. We're all human here. But they were willing to take their lessons, which mean every time they went back to the drawing board, they could come back bigger and better and stronger because, they were improving each time. And improvement does work, you guys. Improvement counts for something. Yeah, that means you're moving forward. But in today's age, we all just want to race, right? We want to be there to the top of the mountain today. And that's just not how it works. It's never going to work like that. But that's what that love bomb was with that narcissist. They was trying to go 0 to 100. But as quick as you went up is as quick as you come down. So there's something way more, what would the word be? Stable, right? Stability. There's something, what is the word? More concrete about taking the steps and not trying to skip them and being okay with trusting, the process and understand, well, if I want to get to C, I really do actually have to do A and B. I'm not going to skip over it this time. I want to get it right this time so that once I get to C, I ain't got to go back to A and B again. See, when we skip over the steps, you're going to have to go back to it at some point. If I really want to have an 800 credit score, there's no shortcuts to that. You've really got to do the work. You need to learn how that works. You need to keep your utilization down. You need to make sure you have working credit. This is no surprise. There is steps to that, and you can't take the shortcut. And once you get it, you'll earn it, you'll appreciate it, and hopefully you will maintain it and guard it. Just like I talked about yesterday, the kingdom. You're not going to work hard to get your 800 credit score, then you're shining all bright, and then you're going to come let some money-hungry narcissist come into your life and what? Take from your hard work, and then bam, here, yep, you're down to 500. Now you got to work back up. No, when you respect your time, when you value what you've done, you're not going to let people come in and do that to you. You learn how to put your kingdom first. Put your kingdom first. Let them deal with their own kingdom, but you better put yours first. Because there are plenty of people that would love to have a castle for free. They would love to have a kingdom They didn't want to have to work for it. And toxic people, they have no conscience about that because they feel entitled anyway in their own toxic thinking. So please protect your kingdom. Please protect it. And if it means that your shallow human emotions are going to have to be put on a back burner for a greater cause, then that's what it is. And that's kind of what I was talking about yesterday. You know, life isn't everything that we want. And as a matter of fact, and for some of us who are already of a certain age, will feel that urgency of, you know what, I want to make sure I've left something for the other generation. I want to get my ducks in a row. I'm not preparing to leave per se, but I know the seriousness of life too. I love to laugh just like anybody else, but I understand the seriousness of it too. We're not just here for nothing. Don't you work hard to break the generational curse and then don't make sure that the next generation can handle it, could take the torch. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot more at stake here. And this is what I kept saying yesterday. And this is what we have to get through our head. So, you know, whatever opportunities you are going to take advantage of, you just better make sure that it's divinely guided. And we can do that by checking in with him and through our emotional maturity. He's going to let us know. And we're not going to just ignore it if it's something we don't want to hear, because it's for your protection. He had to show you how shady that person was for your protection. For your protection. It hurt your human emotions, but it's going to protect you from this and that if you allow it to. Are you going to let your human emotions, what hurt? I wanted it to be love. I don't want to accept that. So you're going to stay in resistance. And then, even though it was revealed to you, you're still being betrayed because there's this inner turmoil that you need to address within yourself. Okay. And that comes from connecting to the higher self and the higher source. Then you're going to have a new goal. And it's like, okay, I don't need to be coddled. I just need to know the truth of things so that I can make the accurate decisions that's going to protect my kingdom. I've evolved past the infant stage. You know, infants, they just cry on every whim. They want to be comforted by their mother or, you know, their caretaker. So we have to grow, guys. And that's why you always hear me say emotional maturity is real. It's real, you guys. It is so real. But before I go, I'm going to just look over these comments and see, because I wasn't looking while I was talking. So Levelhead says, so glad to be hearing this live stream. Really appreciate what you're saying. Thank you. And you're welcome, sweetie. Yvette Perez says, biggest mistake, putting them on a pedestal and saying yes, yes, yes to everything, even though I was always had an uneasy feeling while I was with the narcissist, knowing all along that I was the prize. Right, right. And there's something wrong when you have to say yes to everything, you know? It's completely giving your control over at that point, and it definitely says there's no boundaries here. Hey, Seashell 200, and hey, Lorraine Harvey. Yes, and Seashell 200 says she's had to learn to value herself more. Yvette says, thanks to the higher source, my higher self has received so many blessings, maybe not in love, but in every other way. My new best friend. Absolutely. But, you know, you have received it in love too, Yvette. That's what I need you guys to see. Love is just not this external thing that we're giving. Love starts from within. So it's okay if the new love of your life is yourself. Okay, that's okay. It doesn't have to be egotistical. It doesn't have to be in an egotistical manner. Like if you're learning to love yourself, or love yourself the way the higher source loves you, that's love right there. It's okay if you don't have a husband just yet, or you're not in a romantic relationship. That's still love too. My cat wants to get out of my room. Hold on, honey. I'll let you out. Okay, she says now. Let me let her out. I didn't know you were in here, number one. I have a cat and a dog, and both of them love to hide in my room. My puppy likes to take naps in my closet, and my cat likes to sleep under my bed. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Black. Oh, Blickum. Okay. Says beautiful about the animals. Yeah. Yeah. Even animals, they don't fight against the truth. Once it's revealed to them, they'll make the best decision that they can, even. Aw, protect her peace. Absolutely. Continue to protect yours. Yvette Perez says, not having the narc in your life is a blessing. Absolutely. Takes a while to get there, but it's true. They treat everyone the same, even their mother, fathers, and siblings. I've seen it firsthand. Yeah, they do. They do. And that's why you don't need to take it personally. And people do, because chances are a lot of times it's happening in a personal relationship. Not to say there aren't narcissists in corporate America, or, on the job, or through business dealings. Absolutely. They're everywhere. So it's not everyone, but they're definitely everywhere. And they do. They treat everybody that way. And good afternoon, Queen Laura Lee 47. Yes, Seashell 200 made an excellent point. She says, and the healthier you get, the more the evil tries to attack you. Absolutely. That's why you'll hear people say, new level, new devil. But you know what I heard one day? They said, you may not be able to prevent a bird from landing on your head, but you definitely can prevent it from building a nest there. As a matter of fact, the more successful that you do get in life, the more you're going to attract people, period. And all of them aren't going to have good, kind intentions, point blank, period. But that's why you have to have that wisdom. And that's why God usually likes to refine us before he elevates us to that point, so that we can protect the kingdom. You see? It's okay, Yvette. I love to read the comments. You guys feel free to put comments under any of my videos. I do read them all. And, I reply as needed. Queen Laura Lee 47 says, yes, I just need to know the truth and deal with it, take the lessons, and keep moving forward. I'm not operating in my emotional immaturity when I connect with the narc. I know that for sure now. Good. Yeah, Queen Laura Lee 47. A lot of people struggle with that. She says, I couldn't believe someone could do those things to another human being. Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, especially once you're emotionally involved in that situation. It's very hurtful, but it's better to know who you're dealing with at that point. Kiki Jefferson says, leaving narc communities and industries. Not sure what you're talking about, but I did make a video about a week ago just to tell you guys to be careful within the community, that there are imposters. There are people who are just, trying to benefit off of your pain and suffering. So, be careful with that. We have this community here, but even within that, you have to know that there are going to be, some narcissists or toxic people that will come into that as well. So just be very careful. And watch that video for reinforcement, because I go into further detail. And Laura Lee 47 says, I lived a very sheltered life, so green in my 20s. Yeah, and a lot of parents, they want to protect us so much from things, and it's okay to protect us, but they definitely want to make sure they teach you that emotional maturity, because there are a lot of wolves out here, and you want your child to be prepared. And as a matter of fact, if I have parents listening to this right now, don't coddle your children. You need to tell them the reality out here. And I had to do it, let's say, where was I? Yesterday, I was at Kohl's with my son, and he just turned 11. And I got him 2 gold necklaces. One is a cross, and the other is 2 praying hands together, medallion, and it's real jewelry, not no fake plastic, nothing. And I had to explain to him, like, look, I'm going to gift you this, because in my emotional maturity, I said, I don't want to set my son up to be in situations that he don't need to be in, because he gets nicer things in life. And there are people who don't, and people who rob and steal, and people have gotten killed from stepping on people's sneakers. Look, I know the harsh realities of things. And even at 11, I have these conversations, and I've been having conversations with them and him as a pending Black man. And I said, look, I'm giving you these necklaces, but it's not nothing for you to showboat about. He asked me to have, a cross. He did ask me for that. And his birthday was a couple of weeks ago now. No, a week ago now. And I gifted him that. But I said, look, I need you to understand that, some of your friends, they may not have this. And, when you're out playing regular, you don't need to wear this. There's only certain environments that you probably should even wear this too, but, you're going to have it. Or maybe you tuck it in when you go here or there, or when you're doing this or that, if you have it on. I had to explain this to him about, people snatching chains and all types of stuff. So I'm like, look, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to have jewelry, but you just be wise with it and understanding that everybody's not like you, and these possibilities, and not to invoke fear on him, but just so he understands angles and wisdom and this and that, because if you're wearing it somewhere where people, everyone has it, then it doesn't mean that someone else might not do it. It could lower the probability, but you just always have to be careful, I told him. And that's why a lot of times you'll see people with a lot of money, they may dress modesty. They're not trying to really attract that attention. And I don't want to digress here, but just, as far as being sheltered, this is how a lot of teen moms are being created, and teen daddies, right? So we have to talk to our children about sex. And a lot of that shelteredness for parents is their discomfort with talking about what they would feel like is adult situations and happenings, and they feel uncomfortable with it. But children need to know that there are bills being paid. I've been talking to my kids about credit since they was 5. I didn't want them to have the same issues that I had at 18 and went to college. And this is back before everything was so electronic. All the credit card people were out there at the tables. All you had to do was fill out a little sheet of paper. Credit card came. It was free money to me. I had to learn. Okay. So, sheltering our kids are not helping them. And if you really want to protect your kingdom, the next generation is going to have to understand you got to leave that wisdom to them and tell them early on, get them used to it early on. My kids understand how a house operates, and how I'm the CEO of this household, okay? And these are my responsibilities, these are yours. This is what I have to do to keep things running, okay? Oh my gosh, my son is up and he doesn't know I'm on live chat. But let me go through these um, other comments here. 2.5 years, narc free and blessed. Is the spiritual warfare up close and personal? Absolutely. And I'm going to be actually making one of my next live chats. Blickum, and everyone else is going to be on narcissistic children. Yeah, I'm going to finally address that. I've been taking notes now for several weeks in preparation of this video, but I'm going to talk to you about it from a psychology standpoint, and I definitely want to talk about it from a spiritual standpoint, because they're both involved for sure. But yes, it is a spiritual warfare. Kiki Jefferson says, how do I stop overcorrecting? Well, when you say overcorrecting, are you talking about trying to strive for perfectionism? Because no one's going to be perfect. There's nothing wrong with correcting, because sometimes we do need to correct, but it's overcorrecting is kind of like gives me an energy of maybe obsessing over things, and maybe even this could be someone that's trying to live in the past. A lot of times they're still thinking about what it coulda, shoulda, woulda. Hold on a minute. Let me let Nathan know that Okay, I'm back on. I don't know what I did, you guys, but I tried to. What was I even talking about? Did you guys hear me while I was trying to figure out how to mute this to let Nathan know that I was on the phone? But we were talking about overcorrecting. Okay. Um, well, by allowing yourself to be human and to know that if you did your best at that given moment, that's going to be good enough. Doesn't mean that you can't do better moving forward. You can. You can do better moving forward. But we have to drop the idea of perfectionism. No one's going to be perfect, but it's okay with giving things your best shot, and forgiving yourself if you feel like you could have done better. But if you feel like you did do your better, you just didn't know any better. So it's just really having those realistic perceptions as well. Okay. All right. I'm reading the rest of the comments here. The hood community security. Hmm. Okay. So it sounds like people are talking about the narcissistic children. Aw. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting video. A lot of information to share for sure. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Yvette, it looks like you made the last comment here and you said, look what happened to Lady Gaga's dogs and dog walker. My grandson has a Frenchie and I worry when he walks her. Oh, well, I'm not sure what happened to Lady Gaga's dogs. I'm really disconnected with that type of stuff, you guys. But I want to thank you guys for logging in. I hear the twins and Nathan, they are up full force. They had their tablets, so they were distracted for most of the time, but I have to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you always hit the like button to show support for the channel and the content and to, help other people find out about this channel as well. Until next time, you guys, never give up on yourself. Continue to do the work and take care, sweeties.